Hey guys, this is Sunny Bone with Tuts Plus, and today I'm going to be talking a bit about what I like to call game life. More specifically, how to bring your game to life in 10 simple steps. As for game life, you may know it as game feel or juiciness or something else like that, but I hope to show you what I mean exactly by taking a small prototype, something that works but isn't all that impressive, and turning it into something awesome over the course of 10 iterations. Okay, so what we have here is a really basic 2D side-scrolling action platformer. We can jump and shoot, and the enemy just kind of walks around, bumps into walls. It works, but it needs a lot of love. This is actually a prototype that I created for a 1-hour game jam back in 2009. So, everything that's going to be shown to you, I was able to implement within an hour. So it is simple stuff, but it really adds up to be a lot in the end. So the first thing we're going to do to make it look better is to animate the characters. The main player needs an idle animation, walking, jumping, and the enemy needs a walk cycle. So we're going to throw that in there, and immediately you can tell it's starting to come to life already. We have like a cartoony look with the squishiness of the main character and the little alien's tentacles flopping around. Now I'm going to throw in some sound effects, so we've got something to hear as well as something to see. You don't need to implement audio this early. Some people wait to do audio last, but I'm an art guy, I'm an audio guy. I have to see it and hear it as I go, and that helps me find the sweet spot. And keeping it strictly art related, we're going to throw in some stage tiles so we're not just looking at the plain background, and you can see the world is starting to come together. And now I'm going to start tweaking the gameplay. First of all, by adding verticality through a double jump. This is going to allow the player to reach different areas, but it introduces something very important, and that's choice. It's variation. The player has an actual decision to make now on how to get from point A to point B. Double jump is a very simple idea. It's been around for a long time, but if you really start thinking about what it does to the gameplay experience, it'll really teach you a lot about game design and why things are done a certain way. And if you listen to the jump sound, you'll notice that it sounds a little different every time you jump. That's the introduction of randomization, which I'll touch on later. Another very important thing to consider when thinking about the life of your game. Alright, this is where things start to get interesting. We're going to improve the feel of gunplay through feedback. We've got visual feedback with the screen shake, and the muzzle flash, and the randomized trajectory of the bullets. We also have the player being pushed back, which adds another layer of depth to the gameplay. And we have audio feedback by the increased sound quality of the gunshot. Everything here is designed to make gunplay feel better, but you can also introduce some new gameplay elements, like using the bullets as a way to jump across large gaps. The gunshots and impacts are also randomized because you're going to be firing 90% of the time in a game like this. So you want that to be as varied as possible. Again, variation is very important to game life. Speaking of variation, let's introduce multiple enemies, and we'll have them start off moving at different speeds, and we'll start them on different animation frames so it doesn't look like a clone of the same thing just stamped onto the screen. We're also going to add enemy knockback. We're going to have like a little flash on the enemy to let you know that the enemy's taking damage. That's feedback. Particles! Totally useless, totally pointless, but totally awesome. Particle effects can really bring things to life in subtle ways, and when they're not there, you really miss them. If you play a game like this with particle effects on and then just suddenly they're not there anymore, you really notice it. So here we have dust particles on jumping and landing. We have fire coming out of the gun, dust coming out of or smoke coming out of the gun, and we have the impact particles of the bullet when they actually hit something. All this added together with the gunplay feedback that we added earlier almost makes it feel like a different game than what we saw in the first iteration. So another very important thing about life is death. And up until this point, when our enemies die, they just disappear. So now we're going to introduce permanence. When an enemy is killed, we're going to have a big screen shake, a screen flash, and the creation of the body parts and the particles. And the body parts are actually going to stick around, and it's going to remind the player of what happened here. It's going to allow the player to basically leave their mark on the world. All right, in the final iteration here, these are going to be a couple of extra touches. We have some background music playing, parallax scrolling background, which doesn't make sense here, but it's just using it for demonstration purposes, and shell casings when you fire a bullet. And that's going to create more permanence. Now, all these are optional. Everything here actually is optional. You don't need to take these ideas and put them in your game just because I say so or just because somebody says so. This is not teaching you what to do. This is teaching you how to see a game come together and kind of dissect why decisions are made. So when you're playing a game, think about what's going on, why things were added and why it works, why it doesn't work, and really kind of dissect things. And when you're creating your games, ask yourself questions like why does this feel better than this? Or why does this not feel as good as that? And just question everything. So if you want to learn more, there is an article that accompanies this video that goes into greater detail, and it breaks down every iteration. You can play through the iteration. There's an embedded demo there. There's a downloadable demo. So be sure to check that out. I'll pop a link at the end here, and you can also check the link in the description. So once again, I was Sunnybone with Tuts Plus, and thanks for watching.